Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode number 92 of Fraternity Foodie. I am your host, Mike Ilon, CEO of Greek University. We call these episodes Fraternity Foodie because there is nothing like great food to bring people together. Today, we have a longtime friend, Dr. Colleen Coffey Melchiorre, who does business development for our good friends at PhiredUp. I asked Colleen to come and talk to us about why fraternity men and sorority women leave their organizations, because I think retention is going to be a key issue for our chapters in light of this pandemic that we're all going through together. But before we get to all of that, let's start by welcoming Colleen to the show. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you for having me, Mike. I'm so grateful to be here.
Of course. I'm so happy to have you on the show. I have so many questions for you. So I am so happy that you're here to answer all of them, because I knew that you would have all the answers. I just knew it. So, all right, so let's get a little bit of background information. I know that you went to Belmont right here in Nashville for your undergraduate experience. So why did you choose Belmont?
You know, Mike, I chose Belmont because it was close to home. And fun fact, I didn't really fall in love with school until I was like out of college, actually, like until grad school and beyond. I wasn't always like a stellar student. And back in the day, I don't even know if I should say this like on live podcasting, but back in the day, I had this girl that I went to high school with who happened to have a little baby while we were in high school, and I threw her a baby shower. And I just loved on her and thought she was wonderful. And I went to apply for colleges, and I applied to Lipscomb and Belmont because they were both kind of local. And I thought maybe I could get in. And at the time, I really didn't have the grades to get into Belmont. But lo and behold, the admissions guy is her dad. Wow. And so when he saw my name, he was like, "Are you the one that threw my granddaughter a baby shower?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "Those values are welcome here at this institution. We're going to let you on in." Wow. So great risk and all, it was not my academic prowess that allowed me to become a Bruin. It was my heart, I guess. And so I chose Belmont for that reason. And they had sororities and, they had social work, and that's what I studied. So.
Wow, that's so amazing. I'm so happy that we're talking about this openly, because that is just an incredible story. I had no idea. And wow, that is just so fascinating. Oh my goodness. All right. So that's good. So now you're at Belmont. And while you're at Belmont, you joined Alpha Sigma Tau. So what was special about the women of AST?
They were larger than life, Mike. I just sought family so much in so many different ways throughout my life by groups of women. You know what I mean? Like, women I cheered with, or women I did theater with, or I had a really amazing group of girlfriends in high school. And so I was seeking sorority. And the women in Alpha Tau, to me, were just women that I wanted to kind of be like. They were super leaders and beautiful and out there and intense. And I was like, wow. And I had this really big crush. I'm going to give a heteronormative example. I had this huge crush on a fraternity man. And he told me that's the sorority I should join. And so I was like, well, if he thinks I should do this, that's probably what I should do. Honestly, though, my Panhellenic sisters from Belmont University are some of the most wonderful women that I know. And so they're really, I really could have been happy in any chapter and thrived in any chapter. And as a matter of fact, the last 2 weeks alone, I've had some real deep conversations with a Phi Mu Panhellenic sister and an Alpha Gamma Delta Panhellenic sister. And so, I still know these women that I was in college with in the Panhellenic community to this day. It's a big blessing.
I love it. And I think that sounds an awful lot like Dave Westall's story about why he joined Theta Chi. So you'll have to listen. Listen to his story on why he joined Theta Chi. It's very funny, but it has to do with a woman that he liked at college.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
That's so great. So, all right. So you worked for the national headquarters after college, and you were working in membership recruitment, volunteer management, and collegiate chapter consultation. So talk to us a little bit about what it was like working for your headquarters.
So I worked as a consultant, basically, is what all those words mean. I was like a travel
Sure.
consultant, and I worked in the expansion, or what we called expansion is now extension arena. It was super cool. I fell in love. My intention was, in the beginning of my going to college, was to be a social worker or become some type of like psychologist, psychiatrist in gerontology, with death and dying and elderly. And sorority kind of changed that. I fell in love with the experience and I loved being a consultant. I loved working with chapters that were struggling and chapters that were not. And it was really cool. I mean, it was, and of course, back then, obviously, Mata, at the time, all organizations, I think, gave their consultants a lot of wherewithal. I mean, we were some of the only employees of the national headquarters. And so there were a lot of decisions that we made and a lot of times where we had to really learn to kind of think in the moment about what was to be done and what the right thing to do was. And so I am forever grateful to them. I'm so grateful to Alpha Tau for that year of my life and for the friendships I made while I was a consultant. I mean, Jessica Gendron Williams was a consultant in my same year, and we
Wow.
had two others that were there with us as well that are lovely women. And so it was a great experience like no other.
I love all these connections. See, now all of this is starting to make sense. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's where all of this started.
Yeah.
That's so great. All right. So you've been working with PhiredUp since 2006. And quite frankly, you have an incredible team of humans that you work with. Okay. So many of which, by the way, have inspired me to go out and become a speaker after watching them for so many years, including guys like Josh and Matt and Woody. I mean, fantastic, fantastic humans. I mean, I don't even know how else to say that. But I'm wondering what makes PhiredUp so successful?
Mike, I literally have a dream job and I love this company so much. Like there is orange in my heart and veins. And what makes PhiredUp so successful is the beautiful, precious people that work there. My colleagues, as you have mentioned, some of them and some others, are just tremendous. They are bright, they are capable, they're strategic, they're charismatic, and I really believe from the bottom of my heart that everyone at PhiredUp cares about our industry. And our first thought when we wake up in the morning and our last thought at night is, how can we help? What barriers do we need to help remove? Who can we train? How can we help elevate our clients, our constituents, everyone from a first year member to a national president? Like, how can we help this movement grow? We are committed to serving 100% of the industry, and we have had a laser focus on that this year, in trying to ensure that we know everything that we need to about every walk of life in our industry. I think that the other thing that makes PhiredUp so great, and is we're a good place to work.
Mhm.
The culture that we have developed and has really permeated throughout the company, particularly in the last couple of years, is one of everybody wins together, we lose together. Everybody is in healthy dialogue. Everyone is an elevator of other humans, and there are things about the culture of care that we have built and that we sustain that I think make that it's such a wonderful place.
Mhm.
And no, we're not perfect, but I have enjoyed a lifetime of a career at this company, and I'm tremendously grateful for it.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing people. That's all I can say, but that's awesome. I love it. I love everything about the culture. I mean, you've done such a phenomenal job as a team working on that. And you can see it from the outside. So it's fantastic to watch. So let's talk a little bit about this retention issue. And so from my viewpoint right now, fraternities and sororities are having a tough time retaining members. And I've seen really high numbers in fraternity members that want to get this early alumni status, which really is not a thing while you're still enrolled at your institution, but that's probably a side conversation. So I'm wondering, in terms of retention, do you think this problem is primarily due to COVID-19 and related financial concerns? Or do you think that this could be an example of misaligned expectations and a lack of connection with the organization?
Yeah, Mike, I think that's such a great question. And I think the answer is yes to everything, right? So when we think about any level of crisis that enters into anyone's life is going to um, kind of upend the things that they're committed to, right? And so we can all think about in our own lives when something has come in and kind of hit us sideways, we reevaluate like, is this the right place of worship? Is this the right I don't know, relationship? Is this the right job? Like we tend to reevaluate those things to kind of realign with whatever is going on. And so I think it's very normal in the midst of a global pandemic that's unprecedented times. By the way, we need to retire that word after 2020. It's like unprecedented.
Yes.
Okay, but unprecedented times. Like I think that in these unprecedented times, people are concerned about finances, and you've got individuals whose parents have lost everything in the blink of a month, right? I mean, they were everything was fine on March 1st and nothing was fine on April 1st ish, depending on where you live.
Mhm.
And so I think that's very telling and very profound, and that could have really impacted the attrition rates in fraternities and sororities. The other thing I think about is the concept of misaligned expectations, i.e., I thought I was getting one thing and what I actually got was this other thing. Well, my goodness, every single one of our organizations, every organization in the world right now is dealing with a level of misaligned expectation,
Mhm.
right? That, like, because you thought you were going to get an actual experience, and what you have now is an actual experience in on Zoom in a box, right? And so I think that that is a challenge that is there. So I do think that more students are leaving college. I think that more students are taking a gap year. I'm a mother. I know you're a father, and I think
Mhm.
it totally is makes good sense to me that parents are saying to their undergraduate men and women, like, we're just going to take the year off right now. Let's hold off for a second. Why don't you come on home and work in the garage, and then we'll go back when we need to. So I think some of that is happening. I also think that the online experience is really hard for people. It's hard to connect. So many of us go into fraternity and sorority seeking brotherhood, sisterhood, and siblinghood. And to be able to have brotherhood, sisterhood, and siblinghood in front of a computer only can feel really challenging and really overwhelming. And so I do think it's that misaligned expectation and lack of connection that is impacting it. But I think that COVID-19 is in so many ways trying to take our ability to connect with one another. And that's the thing that we're so good at fraternity and sorority.
Right. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for framing it up that way, because I know that once COVID-19 hit, I certainly looked at my own, the organizations that I belong to, which are many, and I started thinking, do I really have time for all of this given what's going on? And so you're right. College students are probably doing the same assessment, right?
Mhm.
So interesting. All
And
right.
I
This
also
is really good.
like what you said about the alum status or whatever. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not like, this is Colleen Melchiorre, Coco's opinion. Okay, this is not like a whatever. I tend to really believe that our most important job as advisors, consultants, coaches, whatever, strategists for students and student leaders is to remove barriers. Like, we have got attention industry. Like, we have got to get out of our own way sometimes. And so something like an early alum status
Mhm.
or a non-participatory status, like, I am here for that, because what it does is it allows to a young like to allows us to say to a young man, we love you, we appreciate you, we want you to be a member of this organization, and we understand that times are tough, so if you want to take a pause, go ahead and take a pause.
Mhm.
Like, I know that that impacts our financial bottom lines as organizations, but I also know the tremendous return that that will have for that young man a year from now when he's ready to come back, or 6 years from now when he himself has lost a job and he needs to turn to his brothers. And so I think that we sometimes get caught up in the nuanced context of all of the logistics of these are the amount of members we need and this is our currency, when in reality, like, as our colleague Gentry McCreary and friends say, brotherhood and sisterhood is our currency,
Mhm.
not the amount of members that we have. And I get it. Like, I know we're working with, dollars and cents. I'm not like always great at that stuff, but what I do know is that sometimes those special statuses work to retain people in
Right.
the long term. So it might seem yucky now, but it's not women's for always.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's a complicated question. I mean, as a headquarters person, right? If I put on the headquarters hat, I'm thinking about liability insurance, which obviously is a concern. If they're still at the university and they're still taking classes, do they end up at an event, right, with their brothers or sisters? So there's so many things in my mind that complicate it
Yeah.
from the business side. But I certainly understand where you're coming from, which is that we are in the brotherhood and sisterhood business, and that really should take, first priority is to be a brother, to be a sister, to help where we can. And I think that chapters are doing it. I am seeing that chapters are reducing some of their dues, trying to figure out ways, maybe because they don't have all of those events that they need to pay for, trying to find a way to keep and retain all of these members without chasing them away, bringing down that cost, and seeing what they can do to keep their members. But it's a complicated question. I can see both sides of it, right? I can argue both sides.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the truth is, or the reality might become somewhere in the middle.
Mhm.
And so, what are the barriers that we can remove to retain full membership for these people? But maybe we say to them, it's okay if you don't want to attend 400 things. It's okay if we're going to prorate the dues a little bit, or we're going to do, we've got to. I think one of the things that retention is so much about that is hard for people to get their arms around is retention is an individualized business. So it's going to retain Mike is different than what's going to retain Joe, is going to retain Melissa, is going to retain Thea. You know what I mean? Like it's different. And so we have to work to have individualized one-on-one relationships with every single one of our members. And that takes time.
Yeah.
It's a big gift, but it takes time. And so what each individual one needs, if we can come at it from that perspective, then we start to see retention rates increase, attrition rates kind of level out. So.
Mhm. I like where you're going. I think you're onto something there with that individualized program. I think that could really work here. And the other thing is, I was watching one of your videos that you were speaking, and you believe that the key to retaining and engaging your members starts and ends with your heart. That was the quote. And it just kind of struck me. I was like, oh, that's deep. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I think I was feeling excited that day, and I said that, and I was like, yes. So I don't know if I've said that ever again until this moment. It starts and ends with your heart. I think what I mean is that, and again, on on the scale of organized, logistical, strategic, like and relationship focused, loving, go deep, I'm over here. You know what I mean? So I get that there's not only fluffy love stuff in the world, right? But when it comes to retention, it is that magic of relationship. So the key to retaining people exists in our ability to individually connect with them and to know them. Our job as sorority and fraternity members and leaders and people that are affiliated with our organizations is to be extra, to be more. And that means that we're willing to go there with people, and we are willing to seek people out in order to see them. That's not easy to do. But every single human being that enters into a fraternity or sorority, for one reason or another, has something to do with, I want to belong. I'm looking for a home away from home. I'm looking for a place to do whatever, whatever. Well, okay. Then us as members and leaders, the very first thing that we need to think about from the beginning to the end is, how do I become a minister of belonging to every single one of my membership constituents?
Mhm.
How do we foster cultures of care where everybody matters, everybody belongs, everybody has healthy, loving dialogue? How do we make it feel like a family instead of a group of folks that gets together and has fun? And that takes extra work. And that's heartbeat business. It requires you to dig down into your soul and say, all right, how do I feel about having 25 deep conversations today? Am I up for that? Where am I at with my own life? Am I able to walk with people in their journey? Am I ready for that? Is that something I want to do? What role do I need to take on to best facilitate that and to best make that happen? It starts with your heart and your own self, right? And then it ends with your heart too, because it all kind of comes back to that. When you think about the reasons that people leave, they look at like, conflict, values misalignment, misaligned expectations, lack of connection. Some people, even like in something like COVID, will say it's financial and whatever. All of those things are things that we can address. Like we have the ability through relationships to say to someone, can you tell me what's going on with you for real?
Mm.
And across my heart, I'm not gonna, I just want to know so that I can help you.
Mhm.
And that's what I mean, I think, when I say that.
That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Now, I want to ask you one other thing about recruitment, because it seems like everybody, all fraternities and sororities, they're all chasing this authentic connection, right?
Yes.
That's ultimately like what they're trying to get to. Like that's like the top of the mountain, right? And I see, videos, it could be with the glitter or with the speedboats or I mean, all kinds of things, right? That I'm watching on these like recruitment videos. But we're really chasing is that authentic connection. So why is vulnerability specifically so important in fraternity and sorority life, especially when we're talking about recruitment?
Wow, that is a good question. And yeah, speedboats and glitter. I mean, that's what we do, right? No, that is not right. Vulnerability, I think, and that's also such a buzzword, right? Like
Yeah.
made famous by our friend Brene Brown and other friends in our industry that we love dearly, and even like our company has like been like vulnerability is the key, right? But really, what vulnerability means is it means that I'm going to show up for you just as I am.
Mhm.
Why does that? I think you asked me, why does that matter in fraternity and sorority? Because we're not supposed to be a club of people that like get together to hang out. Like they're like we, people are like, oh, like it's so hype. Like we're not supposed to be that. Like we're not supposed to be like hype and chill organizations. This is supposed to be the place where you come home,
Mhm.
where there is your family, where you can become whoever it is that you want to become, and then become someone else real quick, and then have people say good job or not as good. And this is supposed to be that type of experience. And so being vulnerable doesn't mean like, oh, let me pour my heart out to you every single moment of every single day. It means I'm going to show up and give you some of me so that you can feel like you can give some of you. And that's why that is important, because these organizations existed in the beginning to bring people together, to love each other, to get through college life.
Mhm.
And I think somewhere along the way, we got really big and we got really excited and we got really frilly and we got really hype, you know? And
Yeah.
to use the word that my brother-in-law uses is younger, like we got super hype. But like somewhere along the way, I think we lost sense of what this is supposed to be. And I don't mean to be like super intense, like, whoa, lady, hold up. Okay. It's just 4 years. But no, it's for life. Like we lost sense of that. And I think sometimes there are other things, the competing priorities that we as organizations, either national organizations or local chapters or small entities of leadership groups around, we lose sight of what like that really that really matters, that vulnerability. And yes, authenticity is a huge buzzword.
Mhm.
Okay. But you only like you should use it because it's an important word, except for that, like you've got to actually be authentic behind it. You know what I'm saying? So don't be like, I'm so authentic. Because maybe that's not what you are right now. You know what I mean? And that's okay too. Let's explore, why you feel like you got to put, we show up with no filter is what I like to say. That's
Yeah.
the best we can do.
Okay, that's good.
That leads to retention. So again, showing up without a filter and sharing everything that we need to share in recruitment is the best way. Like that's one of the biggest predictors that, that retains people because they know what they're getting into. They know
Mhm.
who you are and what yeah.
Now, everybody at Fired Up talks about social excellence. Like this is like a big piece of Fired Up, right? And you
Yeah.
say that community is the key to social excellence. What does that mean for somebody that doesn't understand all this jargon here?
Yeah, so social excellence is basically like be a good human. Okay, like if you want me to boil down the definition for you, it's be the best person you can be in any given moment, right?
Got it.
Like,
Mhm.
you know, and so community being the key to social excellence, I think about that from a campus-based perspective in our industry. Instead of saying, if we want to be a socially excellent campus, then we've got to be a campus where we are showing not just to our own brothers, sisters, and siblings these vulnerable and authentic interactions, but we're showing that to everybody. And so when I think about social excellence and community, I also think about, if this person's socially excellent and so is this and so is this and so is this and so is this, then in short order, our community as a whole gathers together to do things that are really impactful. And so the more one by one we can become kind of better and extra and, just good human beings that are willing to go there and just love the heck out of people, the better we can come together to do really meaningful things, to make meaningful change, to move the needle on things that are actually really important, especially right now.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely love it. Now, there are probably a lot of processes that are broken currently in our organizations. It could be because of COVID, it could be because of financial. I mean, there's all kinds of problems out there. So, what advice do you have for students that are looking to fix some of these broken processes in their organization?
So, first of all, what I would say to students is, you are the voice. You have the opportunity and the power to challenge things, to change things, to ask good questions and ask for better answers. I think the very first thing that I would always tell them is, let's use our voice. Let's use it respectfully. Let's use it with kindness. Let's use it in collaborative spirit. But just like sometimes opening up that heart for them, that key for them to say, like, you can actually say that to somebody. And by the way, if you actually call someone and say that, you're not going to get in double super secret probation trouble. They actually might be able to fix that for you,
Mhm.
or fix it with you. So that would be the number one thing that I would say to students. And I would also say to them, we have this concept that we utilize at PhiredUp, and it's called permission. Per, in parentheses, mission. Such an interesting word, permission. And basically what it means is, if you know the mission of the organization, you have permission to act on its behalf. Well, you have permission, students. You know why you're here. You know what you're about in your fraternity or sorority. You know who you're after. And if you don't yet, like, you should think through, what type of woman or man or individual would thrive in our organization? What type of person are we looking for? And if you know what you're after and who you're looking for, and you understand how the values of your organization kind of resonate with you and impact your own life, then guess what? You have permission. You have permission. You are just as important. Your voice, your soul, your heart, your power is just as important as anyone else's. And so I sometimes think, and I don't know if this will like make episode 92 a thumbs down on YouTube or something. I think that's what our episode is. Maybe it's 93, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but like, I sometimes think that we as adults, like, we get into this space where we like handhold students, and we talk about them and to them as if, like, I don't know, like, I don't know, a little bit condescending or something, right? And I know I do it too. Like, sometimes I'll be like, no, does that make sense? Like, of course it makes sense. You're talking to college educated students, like, of course. But my point is this: I think that sometimes if we open our ears and just close our mouths and listen to what they're saying, then, like, what we hear is something profoundly wonderful,
Mhm.
even more than what we think is there. And so I guess what I would say to students is, use that voice and find people that are on your national councils or on your campus or in your chapter advisors or your senior members that are willing to listen to you and hear you, and really help facilitate the things that you are feeling and the processes that you want to change.
I love that you're empowering the students in the chapters all the way to, the freshman who just joined,
Yeah,
has been in the organization for a day. You're empowering that student. And I love that because you're absolutely right. That organization belongs to him or her just as much as everybody else in the organization, right? And I think you're empowering them. I think that's really powerful. And I hope that they'll listen to those words because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think every student, even the freshman who just joined, you have as much power in the organization, as much say so in the organization as the senior member who's the president of the chapter. And I think if we empower all of the students, then we ultimately will get to social excellence, right? Because all of those people are now empowered to do the right thing in line with the mission of the organization.
absolutely. And Mike, listen, I'm going to tell you, in my like 20 years or so of a career, um, when I learn the most is when I shut my mouth and open my ears and lean into what someone is saying to me, and saying about their current plight, and that willingness to listen and help advocate for whatever changes is needed. Those are some of the times in my career where those are like career highs. Like those are like, oh my gosh, we just got this done. And I will tell you that students have tremendous things to say.
Yeah.
And if we can go into every interaction with them thinking like, what do they have to teach me? We start cooking with gas. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I'm with you 100%. This generation is going to do amazing things. And I'm just in awe of all of it when I see it actually happening. So sometimes, I'll have other professionals that are not in the industry and they'll say, oh, I don't know how you're working with this generation. I'm like, are you kidding me? These are the greatest students you have ever seen. They will blow your mind if you see the stuff that they're working on and what they're doing in their campus.
Like, Mike, are you worried about hunger in your zip code? Oh, let me just create an app for that real quick. Oh, now the food bank is linked with the entire grocery store. I'm like, what just happened? World changing, mind blown. They
Yeah.
see our love and support and I like to think of myself as a resident mother for so many chapters and organizations. And I am so grateful for that role. So they still need that love and support and compassion, but like, yeah, they're way smart.
They're way smart. They are way smart. So it's fantastic. All right. Now, that we love to eat food here at Fraternity Foodie. So we both live in the same area. We're probably only about 20 minutes away from each other. So tell me, what is your favorite restaurant in Nashville that I need to go and check out?
Well, Mike, I think you need to go and check out our friends at Rock and Dough Pizza. Um,
Uh-huh.
Several locations around Nashville, and if you're in the Memphis or Chattanooga area, I think we've got a couple locations there. Check out Rock and Dough Pizza. They're like artisan pizza, and it's super yummy. And I'm just saying, like, if in the next couple weeks you go there, you might see a Melchiorre. Or,
I love it. I'm a bit of a pizza snob, though. I have to warn you because I was born in New York City. You understand?
yes, I know. It's the water in New York that makes it right. Mm-hmm. But no, it's
That's true, but I'm definitely going to go check it out. On your recommendation, I'm going to report back to you and let you know what I
and
think
then what
because
you got. Yeah,
that
yeah,
is fantastic. All right, so if our listeners want to learn more about you, they want to learn more about PhiredUp and bringing you to their campus for their council, their chapter, whatever, where should our listeners go to get more information about PhiredUp?
Listen, at PhiredUp, we're about helping fraternities and sororities grow. Our main mission is to help organizations attract, select, secure, and retain members. If that is something that you need help with, we have a lot of free resources on our website and blog, and we would love to help you from an education, strategy, marketing, and technology perspective. PhiredUp and Technify, all of our services can be found at PhiredUp, PhiredUp.com. You can also connect with me directly at Colleen, Colleen, at PhiredUp.com. And the best, honestly, way to get a hold of me sometimes is via the cell phone. And those of you in our industry that don't know my number, although I'm pretty sure that 90% of people do, it is 615-260-5055.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. You're absolutely right. FhiredUp has incredible free resources. If nothing else, go to the website, check out all the free resources. You'll be blown away at the quality of the information that they're providing and that they're truly trying to help everybody that they can. And trust me, these folks love fraternity and sorority. They eat, breathe, they live, they dream about fraternity and sorority, just like me. These are my people. Like, I think that's why we get along so well, because we're all coming from the same place, right? We all care so much about fraternity and sorority going forward. So thank you so much, Colleen. You are just amazing. And I love being your friend. I love talking to you about fraternity and sorority. You always have the answers that I'm looking for. So thank you.
Well, Mike, I am honored to be here with you tonight, and I am so proud of the work that y'all are doing at Greek University. And I am so glad that I have gotten to know you all of these years. And we at FhiredUp are just grateful to be in colleague partnership with our other vendor colleagues. Like we have so many of them out there that are just doing wonderful, amazing things for College for Life and Campus Speak. And there are so many of them. I'm going to like not name certain people, and that's not what I mean to do. What I mean to say is that like there are all of these people in the world that love this industry so much.
Mm.
And for a long time, like in the early days, it was like, oh, the vendors are here. Watch out, they're going to sell you something. And like that's not what we're here like to do. I mean, we do a little bit of that, but like mostly like we just want to generously love you with open arms and an open heart, and we're with you.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of that. I think you're absolutely right. We're blessed to have some giants among us. And I think, hopefully this blog, this podcast is going to showcase some of that about the great people that we have and get them down on tape. And that's a resource that fraternity and sorority members can go and check out at any time to get the answers that they're looking for. And that ultimately is hopefully the gift that we're going to leave behind here. So, but thank you. Thank you so much to FhiredUp. Thank you so much for the compliments about Greek University. It's just, it's a labor of love. That's all I can say.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. And thank you so much to our listeners. If you like this conversation, please like it down below. Please share it with other students that you think would benefit from the information that we talked about. And we hope to see you on another episode of Fraternity Foodie. Bye for now.